What is up, boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen, day traders, cloud swing traders? Hope you guys are doing absolutely fantastic. Hope you guys are feeling good. Hope you guys are feeling better than the reaction to the jobs report. Market was pricing in a about a 1.6% move today. So keep that in mind for trading. Maybe it comes later and we get some follow through somewhere, but we've pretty much came in line with the jobs numbers. Initial reaction bullish, but it was not a very wasn't met with a lot of just rampage buying. So the sellers still got a little bit of control. Looks like the bears still have that move under control. But we got Alan in the house. Good morning to you. Good morning to Albert, Amy, Anna, Andy, Bill, Cheryl, D, Frank, Georgie is in the house. Good morning to Jeff, Jeffrey, Joe, Keith, Kevin, Lucian, Malik. Good morning to Martina, Peter, Rob, Tim, Wendy, all my people out in YouTube land. Good morning to you. Whoo, we got a pile today. Guys are piling in today. We got Mustafa. Good morning. Good morning to Hostile. Good morning to Peaceful Paranormals. Good morning to LC, Alfred, Peter, Clarice, M, Sky, Benjal. Good morning. Benjal saying market's still down. Yep. Yeah, so here's how let's go to a 3 minute time frame just to see the after hours reaction again. We were supposed to be pricing in about a 1.6. So if you guys have some calls or puts that expired today, unfortunately they're probably a little bit hurting because they were pricing in a decent amount. But initial reaction, again, it was decent. You kind of sold off right on that opening 3 minute candle. Haven't done much since, and now you're right back to where we came in with that report. Slightly getting some pricing below that as well. At least on a 3 minute, we're below all volume zones. We're also below all moving averages as well. So not a good effort from the Bulls. They briefly tried, took quick gains, and they're out of there. So it's looking like price action wants to continue down a little bit further. If we get any kind of bounce intraday, first spot we got to clear is 572 even. Not the best one in the world, but that's where the first one's at. So we'll see if we could bounce back clear above that. The next target is 572.87, and then we have to see if the Bulls could get together, figure it out. Otherwise, to the downside, I'm looking at 570.22 again. That's gonna be a pretty big level. However, we did hit that one yesterday, and we did get the bounce, which would take me to a very interesting level, 568.97. Why I say that's interesting is, well, you're breaking down this bad boy. So if we get some price action into there, it's not going to be good. It's not going to be a good look. If we could bounce out of there, we could close above that 200. We're still alive. We punt until next week, and we'll see if any buying wants to come in at all. But from the highs, six roughly 613. Let's see what the actual high is. 613.23. You're now down about $50 in the matter of a couple weeks, 3 weeks, something like that. That's a pretty fairly big drop. What is that? Roughly almost 10%. So not crazy yet where the market's like down 20%, and then that's usually a good time for correction. You're kind of right in the middle of everything, down about roughly 10% at this point. So still really not a no, I know online everyone's like the world's ending, the market's coming down. It's still relatively a very small pullback considering all things that were happening. And then you got the monthly chart still hanging in that candle from November, the election month. So we're right back to the election at this point. That month started at like 570.81. We kind of ran into those numbers yesterday. So still at that retest spot. How many times have we seen a candle do something like this where it's just all red and then it rallies back? I don't know if we're gonna have that type of month. We'll see. We have a long time for this candle to develop and finish though, but I don't know. So far, it doesn't look like they're stepping in quite yet. And then you got the Qs. Not a great close whatsoever yesterday. Today's open on the Qs is a little suspect as well. So not even a lot of strength coming in right now. You are opening into a little bit of support, nothing too crazy. Let's see if we can get the next level on this one. The next immediate level I got is about 586.95, and then 485.33, somewhere in that zone. Otherwise, to the higher side today, and that was a close below the 200. That was also a VPOC closing, continuing to close down every single time. So right now, rips are still being sold, and this market is still absolutely wild. Once we get a bull move out of nowhere, usually based off of nothing, it's a massive move, and then we seem to just kind of give it all back still. So that's been the trend. Otherwise, you got 489.59. Watch that level for today. If you can break through it, you're staring right down at that 200. If you can get above it, maybe you got like 495.68, but not a terrific close, and we're opening pretty much right at the low of the day yesterday. First it was buy the dip, now it's sell the rip. Yeah, yep, that's the current sentiment. Tesla, first one that I see. Uh, I'm not even gonna lie, kind of mad at Tessie. I thought we could break that 260 yesterday. I was like, come on, I want to get filled at the next level. If you're gonna come down this far, what I guess I'm just indifferent on Tessie still. Maybe I gotta curb those emotions a little. But like, if we get down here and then all of a sudden we do reverse, I'm gonna be so mad. I was so close to that next level. But then again, technically, I have one more level after that too. So we'll see. And none of that uptrend has to happen. So down, if I do get filled to this level, this is where we're buying some puts. Going to protect the position from just some catastrophic downward turn. Otherwise, still using it to build my position. So we'll see. We did have, I think Dan Ives did put another upgrade to Tesla. He's trying, but he came out with another upgrade for Tessie. He thinks this sell off on Tesla is probably a bit of an overreaction. Did not help yesterday that SpaceX had a little explosion from one of their rockets. I think I know if you're not an Elon fan, you were more focused on the explosion part. If you're an Elon fan, you're more focused on how the little hand grabber thing caught the big base of the rocket, which is the real test. I think that was kind of what they were going for. I would think that they prefer not a big explosion in the air, but it is what it is. But yeah, so down a little bit. I think that didn't help the case. And again, I think that kind of plays into Elon, the Doge. Biggest concerns right now is he spending enough time with Tesla? Is he looking like is he actively involved in Tesla, SpaceX, the Boring Company, everything else that he's got going, and then still being able to maintain the Doge? And now on his watch, you do have a rocket that does kind of explode. So that's not saying like okay maybe all focus is everywhere that it should be. So we'll see. But we are down from this one. It doesn't look like a good open for Tesla. It is a little bit of a retest gap. So watch that quick move if it does get a bounce. I think your high end today is about 262.89. You have a few couple levels before that. I think that one of the bigger ones would be somewhere around 261.21. So we'll see if we get held up there. Not even hit that retest, but gapping below everything. It is just a little bit of a retest though. And then, yeah, maybe get into my 252.23. That would be my target for today. There's not really much holding us. One other spot to hold us up is 257.84. Anything past that, I think we hit those. I think we end up getting filled in that next level. Sentiment is all negative for Tesla. Yep. Wendy says wild that people don't support a company that has a CEO do a Nazi salute. You can get artistic with it. I don't think it was a I think it was an Elon move. But yeah, I don't think the narrative that I want to hold up is that it was a Nazi salute, but to each their own. To each their own. Uh, Joe says I saw the debris in the sky. Yeah, apparently we're you're in Florida, right, Joe? If I'm not mistaken. You got to see it. It's kind of it kind of looked cool to be honest. The it looked like little fireworks and but if you didn't know SpaceX was testing a rocket yesterday and then you just look up and you see that, that's probably a little scary. Ray says he's a little awkward. He's a little bit awkward. Yeah, just a tad awkward sometimes. But you cannot discredit what he's done and built and all that fun stuff as well. So I don't know. That was it is pretty interesting. Only after he comes out to support Trump now he potentially might be a Nazi. He was he was a sleeper cell Nazi, I guess. Very interesting, but you got AVGO, and that did beat on earnings yesterday. So again, we talked about this one somewhere around this what 180, and I just held back. Yes, that was if we were in the market environment where you get these earnings and then you get these massive rips. I was considering, I really wanted to buy somewhere close to this 180 zone when we were there yesterday, 180, 181 for the earnings play. Didn't do it just because we've seen so far sell the rips on everything. And if those numbers weren't good, you'd see probably a much bigger drop than your push higher. But good move. I think we actually made it to what 201 yesterday, 204. Even higher. Yeah, we ended up getting up to 214. So we have sold considerably. We've given back a lot of those gains so far. Other than that, again, a little bit of a low bar coming from Marvell. So they were already down. EVGO was down 4 or 5% yesterday at some point prior to earnings even coming out. And I think your price valuation is a little bit interesting, at least to say. I wouldn't say it's a steal, but you're pretty much, I think, into close to fair value for AVGO, somewhere down at the 180 zone. So we'll see if this holds. Otherwise, not a bad gap. I would like to see some kind of open back above 194.31, or at least climb above it. Your next resistance on this one takes us to 198.07. Obviously, from after hours, we got the 210. Not sure if we get back there again, but a really good day. Probably takes us into 208.31. So we'll see if we can get up there. It is a gap and go above that 200. So I have that on the list already. And we'll see how that one wants to play out. We got Coinbase. Coinbase is chopping sideways, not doing much. There was crypto news yesterday. So we did have Trump sign the executive order for crypto reserves, which uh, could be confusing to a lot of people because you would think that the US government doing a crypto reserve should be bullish. We actually had an initial sell on Bitcoin yesterday, kind of got clobbered on it. The main thing in it is so when the government or police or the feds they start confiscating Bitcoins from criminal activities, they hold on to it. Usually they take that money and they'll sell the assets, and I think they sold already about in today's Bitcoin value would be about $17 billion worth of crypto that would pay for police training, equipment, things like that. But now that is going to be all shifted over to the government and to the Fed, and we're just going to hold what we already have. So there was nothing in there saying that we're going to buy more. I think that's what some of the crypto investors wanted to see. The other thing is he did mention Ethereum, XRP, Cardano. There was what Solana, I think. So I think there were some bull cases on some of those that maybe the government is buying some of that. It's almost separate portfolio. Again, not really looking to buy, but just confiscate, hold, and kind of go from there. But it was step one. I still think the overall news is bullish longer term for crypto. Obviously, that will kind of it kind of validates crypto a little bit if the U.S. government's looking at it, and I think that would set some precedent for other countries to kind of come in and maybe start their own crypto reserve. I think even Texas kind of passed their own state crypto reserve yesterday as well. So I think still relatively bullish news, all things considering. I know it probably wasn't what some people kind of wanted of like they're going to be spending, but it is a way for us to get the crypto reserve without using tax money, and I think that was the angle that Trump was kind of going to get the least amount of pushback on something like that. But other than that, we had a decent recovery. You're still holding that 200. Still not a great location where we're at. So for this thing to really start moving, initial spot 89,832. The real spot you really got to get some closing today, tomorrow would be about 90,223. So Coinbase probably relatively flat on the day because Bitcoin is as well. Yep, we're just in some chop. So key levels on this one. Your bigger level, if we start breaking this 210.29, you don't have that much bullish sentiment coming in at that point, and you got probably a push back to this at least 201. Anything past that, and we have a little bit of a further flush to the downside. To the high side on this one, which we are holding some decent support, a little bit more support than we are resistance. Doesn't mean we're going to break that resistance, but the next spot I got is about 219.57 if these bulls do want to come in. But I think in a longer term view, I think it was a decent move for sentiment in crypto. This is just a lack of foresight of possible optics. I mean, yeah, Elon, yeah, he made some motions, but also a lot of Democrats have made that same motion. However, they were not Nazis at the time when they did it. So the motion itself is fine. It's just whether you would like to also be a Nazi attached to it, I guess. This says my big question is how are they cracking these wallets after they confiscate it? Yeah, I don't know. That's above my pay grade. I'm not sure. But somehow they got it, and they got about $200 billion worth of confiscated crypto. Maybe it's just I don't know. The wallet opens up with face recognition. They just hold the phone in front of his face. Like, all right, we got your Bitcoin now. You got App Loving. Um, Wendy says might do APP retrace. Like retrace to go higher? I don't know. I don't know if I'm on board with it. Not yet. Definitely not a good gap to the downside. We're definitely gapping below yesterday's lows. Very weak candle as well. I think if we could, like, if we open a little bit lower, and I see the case for that retest, I think targets into this one would be about 265.33. However, your next support is 244.44. So you actually do still have a little bit more room to the downside on this one than you do to the higher side. Where I don't really have like I wouldn't really unless we get a good setup intraday at open where we could put some solid stops somewhere. Then maybe we have some risk rewards to play that. Out of the gate, I guess the only thing you're really looking for is maybe some pre-market breakout. Um, Starting somewhere around 257.66, that's taking into some resistance. I think you almost want to get to this 263.23. And where was our yeah, so maybe even pre-market, that was almost a retest into that resistance already. So I would watch it. I think you have better risk reward still to the downside. If it fades up higher, I think goes without me. And then if we get that next kind of double top up there from pre-market, something like that, that might be our spot to look to go short and you have more room, I think. I was saying AVGO. Oh, can do the app retracement. I see. Okay, let's see. AVGO. So you're looking for almost a failed gap and go at this point. Yeah, there's a bunch of resistance above us, but the report was fairly good. It is a gap and go, so you're going counter trend on it. Can it do it? Yeah. In this market of sell everything, sell any green candles. It's called crypto griff. I don't even know. I don't know. Crypto people are crazy. You guys are crazy. Let's see. TLT. I was hoping we'd have a bigger gap. We got some Bob on the list. Chloe says, "No kidding, Nazi my eye." I don't even speak the same language as anybody anymore. I don't think. I don't understand. We got TLT. So yeah, that is gapping up really off the reaction. TLT didn't have any off the job report, so we stayed pretty flat. We're starting to break back out as the market is kind of coming down again. So TLT is still looking fairly bullish. I think if you get above 91.37. That might be your play. You're starting to hit into, yeah, 91.37 is going to be your resistance. The next one up from there, 91.53. We've started to break through this 200. We could do it again. I think we're going to need a healthy couple days to get there, though. So decent, still holding, not bad. You still have your bigger volume zone somewhere to like 93.68. And then if we could start getting the bigger spot on this one, bigger resistance 94.36, if we get candles close above it, then I think we're back to 100 at that point. Lunar was another one. So I think we had Lunar, they had their spaceship on the moon land sideways, they lost communication, and this one's getting a hefty gap to the downside. So $7.22. Yesterday's close was 11.26. You are holding barely, but you're holding a little bit of support. Watch the level of 705. Anything past that, you do have a potential gap fill on this one. So Lunar might still have some more room to the downside. Almost want to see some kind of a bounce first. This is a big move already in this one, but we'll see. We got Bob on the list. Bob had a nice little gap up again. Again, this is still a big, heavy range for resistance. We did break through it yesterday slightly until the profit taking just started to come in. Out of everything so far, Baba still looks pretty bullish, and we really need to see a close though above 143.69. So we'll call it 143.70. 143.70 or higher. I think that sets us up for kind of that next push. Maybe it happens over the weekend. We'll see. But yeah, Baba still looks good. It is a retest gap from yesterday. I would almost treat this one as a retest today. Probably not be buying at open unless you get some solid candles closing above that 143.69 for today, or intraday at least. Otherwise, I think your best spot into resistance, almost a retest gap. I would be looking at 141.21 for an entry. JD was also kind of moving yesterday as well off of earnings. So far, it's given a lot back, but big retest. Sentiment was still bullish. I kind of like Baba over JD if I had to choose, but it's got some room on it, and you're almost into at least a little bit of support. So, yep, continue to watch international names in general. Most of them are still kind of hanging out in a bullish direction, but we'll see. See where if we could hold that little support on JD. Silver. Which one do we want to use for that? SLV. Silver, a little bit of a gap down against 2 days ago. Wednesday, we had a pretty decent, almost breakout looking candle, just kind of retesting into resistance, but fairly good gap and go. Nice range on it. For today, at least, that is pulling back. So look for some kind of support. I think around 29.35 would be decent. The low end of it. You have 29.32. Otherwise, I don't really see any other levels in this thing until a full-on retest, really about $29.07 for maybe some bulls trying to just play a retest of that last little hammer before the gap. But other than that, it kind of just looks like we're hanging out. It's a gap and go from yesterday, but still really inside that Wednesday candle. So I would not expect the sky to fall on that one. Gold, GLD. Gold, I think, was up a little bit today. Yeah, gold is still up. Still inside yesterday's candle with a good resistance 269.46. So tight range on this one. If you get that breakout, I think your next stop is 270.86 and then back to 272.03. But gold still hanging out. Silver still hanging out. Precious metals still looking fairly good in general. Tesla 150 naked put expires today for Benjal. I'm hoping that one. uh, did you sell that one or did you buy that one? If you sold it, you're probably in the money. If you're buying that one, it might be a stretch for today. We would need some craziness to start to roll in. Palantir is still looking a little bit to the weak side. If you get a retest, it is a retest gap technically. So look for 81.26. That would be a good spot to go short. Having your stops probably somewhere above 83 would give you a really good stop. But it does look a little bit weak. We are still opening underneath yesterday's closing price, but even below all that range at this point at least. To the downside, you're starting to run into some support. I think this one probably ends up getting at least to 74.30. And then you do have also with the volume zones. Your next real big volume is probably 75.43. I like it to the downside still. I know. I know. Nobody wants to hear Palantir to the downside. So my bad. Just ignore that. But I think it pulls back a little bit more. We will see. Very choppy markets. Let's see. I'm out of tickers. That's all we got for today. Okay. Apple. After the bell today, we will have some rebalancing, I think, of the Qs. Is it the Qs or the SPY? But there's a couple companies, Coinbase, Hood, both of those guys could be potentially on the list. Not AVGO, what's the other one? App. App could be on the list as well. You got Apple is, but all that reaction will come after the bell. And if you guess right, you're probably gonna make some money on that move. Will it hold though is the next big question. Apple just kind of inside day, not really looking great. Gap and go to the bear side. Again, also below yesterday's opening range price, and then big resistance somewhere around 235.04 to the downside. I would be looking at probably 233.40. This actually might have to be a decent short. You've been to all these ranges before. Kind of like that one to the short side as well for today. If this market can fade. SMCI. Yep. SMCI. To me, sentiment still looks a little bit weak. Looks like it's hanging out. We are below yesterday's VPOC. Inside day candle. I'd be patient on the short for this one, but if you want to short it, 37.08 would get you a pretty good risk reward on this one. Otherwise, we've been down to this 35.69 multiple times now. Definitely easier to break. Next target on this one would take you to about 33.55 for today. Otherwise, yeah, see if you get as close as possible, I think, to the short on that one, 37.08. If we start to break it to the higher side, you got about 39.14, and we've already been up there retesting. This kind of does look like a little bit of a 5 wave count on SMCI for a longer term picture. We'll see if it holds. But we got probably a 1, 2, 3, 4. Maybe this is 5. We can consolidate here for maybe next week. Maybe you have your move if this market finally wants to correct a little bit. We'll see. Andrew says still holding my $50 put. That's probably in the money. Yeah, I would assume that one's decently in the money. The put that you bought, not sold, correct? But yeah, that looks good. I think you should be expires 4/4. You should be all right with that. If you get this breakdown of this green candle, we get a close there. That looks good. If we're just chopping sideways, if we're chopping sideways, you just start to lose that theta, and then you could probably lock some gains and not even worry about that next move to the downside. HIMS, HIMS. Hims and hers is chilling. We did hit a good support yesterday. I think almost to the penny, 34.10. We are above that VPOC. I would actually see. I think we have actually a lot more room to the higher side on this one than to the bearish side. Not a great candle, but even probably a 50% retracement for targets. The real target on this one would take you to about 37.22. It's a phenomenal day, but that was a gap and go from yesterday. I think looking for about 50% retracement takes us to somewhere around 35.86 for targets to the bull side, as long as 34.50 holds. So depends on where we open. We actually open underneath it. These market makers are out of their minds. I like their style. Yep, open underneath it. So now ignore the long side of things. If we start breaking that candle, look for about 31.60. Otherwise, man, that's a crazy week so far. But everybody at YouTube land, make sure you guys hit that like and subscribe button if you've not done so already. You guys are awesome. I'll catch you guys